Hello, Aquarius. We are here with a timeless reading. Welcome. Before we get started, let's set the intention for this to be a space where everyone allows themselves to feel seen and validated, and ultimately for this to be a safe space and a healing space in alignment with everyone's highest good. Okay. If something is coming up in the environment and you can make an impulsive choice, you may want to wait and not do it. However, if you have already, we are going to work on rebounding from this, is what it looks like to me. What I'm getting is that some of you have not done this yet, and you may really want to just pause on doing something that you wouldn't be able to reverse from. Okay. We're going to get details on this. That could also just be like an independent message in and of itself. Okay, for some of you, this hasn't happened yet. All right, let's get down to it. All right, we're starting off with the Queen of Swords. This means looking at everything closely, analyzing in a receptive sort of way, meaning like whatever comes to you, whatever like comes to your doorstep, you want to check it out. This doesn't mean that you need to make something your business when it's not, but it's like when something's brought to you, you want to be looking at it. Just exactly what I'm saying here. Judgment is taking a very close look at something, and that's also what the Queen of Swords does. But because it's the Queen of Swords, this means Queen of Swords is the feminine energy. So that means you're being receptive. So only what is being brought to you, you want to do this with. So it doesn't mean you need to like go out and everything, like go out of your way to initiate this. It's only with the things that are being brought to you right now. So it can be information, it can be conversations, it can be like a contract, for example, things like that. For some of you, something may be being finalized. This can be a contract too, or something that you might commit to. Doesn't have to only be that though. This can also be about like rethinking boundaries, or you may have to reassert boundaries that you have with somebody, or you could be like rethinking how you respond in general to something, or it can be a particular person too. For some of you, it's somebody you're having dialogue with. Okay. There's a chapter that's closing, but this was karmically intended. I'm looking at Aries on the bottom of the deck. Yeah, okay. Something about a choice that needs to be made, but this happens after the fact, and it's a conversation that you're going to be having with this person. So you are in a state of, it feels like defense more than anything, where you're like mindful of what you're saying, of how you're responding to things. You really want to be checking out your response, how you're analyzing things, how you're assessing. You may at this point be looking at the way that things transpired that have now come to an end, and sort of like where you're trying to, what you're trying to get into after the fact. And I am seeing you think about, like, now that this has closed out, or this event has sort of culminated, where do I want to step next? And I am seeing something about needing to make a choice, like maybe whether or not to reach out to someone, or whether or not to respond to something that someone is saying to you. It's a choice about a conversation that needs to be made. So for some of you, it's like, do I reach out to them? Like, do I say something? What do I say? Or if this is somebody reaching out to you, it's figuring out what you want to do about that. Nonetheless, I am seeing that some big changes are coming into play here. Somebody's behavior could have really felt really upset by the way that somebody behaved, and wanting to not allow that to happen again seems like a big part of this. Because I'm seeing you, like, something really get to you and being like, I don't want to have to experience that again. And so I need to look into, like, what could have even allowed this to happen. In the first place. Yeah, look at that. 9 of Swords and the 7 of Swords. Okay, so this person that you're hearing from, you may have needed to set boundaries with somebody, and it could have, or stand up for yourself even. And because of this, things could have ended up closing, it could have ended up closing out a cycle, but I'm seeing that after the cycle has closed out, somebody's coming through wanting to have a conversation with you, or you were thinking about reaching out to this person. Either way, it doesn't matter who's reaching out to who. What matters is that somebody's reaching out to another person, and there's the opportunity to have a conversation and a choice that needs to be made about this. However, I'm seeing that because of the way that things ended, someone is still feeling upset. We're just going to say the Queen of Swords is you, still feeling upset about the way that things went down and not wanting to have a repeat cycle. And also feeling upset about, like, the way that somebody showed up. But you could also feel like this could have brought up parts of your shadow as well, or just that you can't trust this person maybe, because some of you also had to, the reason that you needed to end things with this person was maybe because you felt like it was going in a direction that didn't feel aligned for you. And you didn't really feel like this was maybe a safe environment for you to be in, meaning like it wasn't a safe, maybe energetic exchange that you were having with this person. And it also seems like by you standing up for yourself, you may have like not allowed something to continue that really shouldn't have been continuing, something that like wasn't in alignment. But what I'm seeing is like somebody being very upset about the way that they behaved, or you being upset about the way that this person behaved. Because you could have looked at this person and been like, there are multiple ways to break this down. You could feel like you didn't show up in the best light, but you could also feel like this person was trying to like maybe take advantage, or you feel like this person within the interaction, like their shadow really came up, and you could feel upset because it's like, why did you treat me like that? Because you could have even felt like somebody did something and they didn't even care that it upset you. Same, like somebody clearly upset over here, and then the 7 of Swords kind of like not caring that somebody is upset and being like, well, I want to do this anyway. So I am hearing blatant disregard. So you could have seen that. Yeah, okay. But because you like looked at this and didn't want to allow it to continue, that may be why this cycle closed out. I will say this, though, something is happening after the fact. So it's not just things are closing out. Like, there's something transpiring after this. So I don't know if you thought, like, maybe this is going to be the end of it, and somebody said that this was going to be the end of it, but it's actually not. So that's definitely a clear part of this message that's coming through. But just because somebody's reaching out doesn't mean that you need to necessarily answer this person. Wow, after all of that, there is somebody wanting to sort of like have a new beginning and maybe asking you to trust them. It does seem like there's a bit of conflict on your end, or at least worry that you would be feeling because of not trusting this person emotionally, and maybe feeling like you don't trust yourself emotionally at times. Maybe when it comes to, it can be like somebody being in their empathetic energy, but then not being compassionate, meaning somebody could be being empathetic, but in more of a codependent way, which is like really not going to help anybody, because you can be the most sensitive person, and if you're not practicing boundaries, it's not very compassionate to anybody involved. It's just unhealthy at that point. And so there can be something here that you're working on emotionally, where you're trying to sort of discover new land within you emotionally, so you don't fall prey to another repeat situation like this. Which I'm actually seeing this sort of like fortify something for you emotionally, because like this has left such a mark on you that you're not trying to experience this again. And so you could be trying to like wipe the slate clean entirely, which I'm definitely seeing is a place that's going to be looking good for you. So like rather than going backwards into a cycle again, I'm seeing that you're going to actually move forward, even though it's a bit intimidating and scary, because you're like, what does this mean for me? Like it's a clean slate, which sort of allows you to clear out energetically, karmically, what's been happening, and for you to start over. But that can also feel like scary and intimidating too, because it's like, what's that mean for me now? There's kind of this whole like new rediscovering of self, but I'm actually seeing that be what your guides are encouraging you to do if you're willing to move in that direction rather than going backwards, because it just seems like something is like so soiled at this point to go backwards into it that it just doesn't seem like a workable situation anymore. So when this person reaches out to you, you may decide that it's just like not worth you going back into that. Because again, like I don't think that this situation is able to be reworked after everything that happened. And so you're going to decide to, those of you that are going to decide to move forward, we're just going to go with that track of like the people that are deciding that you're going to decide to move forward, like turn your back on this situation and like keep facing forward rather than going backwards, because it does seem like if you do go backwards, it's just going to be like a repeat again, whether this be you not being able to get out of the past and thinking that the same thing is going to happen again, or it actually does. Either or, you're facing forward now, and I'm seeing that that was the big thing for you here. And also like to see Uranus and Cancer here together with one another, this means that you're like exploring new avenues emotionally for yourself. Also like family can be involved in this, or just things that you really care about a lot, and like emotional connections and attachments, and also what matters to you. But to have Uranus here, Uranus is an unconventional energy, and so you may have needed to do something that was exploratory or unconventional emotionally to get you to this point of further self-discovery, we can say. I'm also looking at Pluto and Jupiter, which means that having Pluto and Jupiter together, Pluto can take us through some really severe and intense situations, but to also have it with Jupiter, it's kind of like you go through a situation that feels very sharp and pointy and kind of like rips you open, and you feel very raw going through this, but having Jupiter there with you, it's kind of like your guardian angel to hold your hand through it, and it allows you to sort of expand out of what had been caging you in before. And so there's like immense growth here to be made, but it only happens through a situation that you feel kind of like cut you open, but then it allows you to sort of like emerge from it like a butterfly. For some of you, you finally stood up for yourself. You may feel that you finally did. Not everything is going to make complete sense yet emotionally for you, but that doesn't mean that you're not making progress. You may have mixed feelings about what's to come. I'm seeing something that you're studying or learning about or looking into here. This can be about cycles. This can be about karma. Can be something like spiritually that you're getting into or learning about. Okay, so I will say this. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where it can be one of two things, okay, that I'm seeing here. Something may upset you so much that you're like, I can't sit with this, or I'm not willing to sit with this because I feel so triggered by it. And so I'm going to tell myself that, like, in order to avoid this, I'm going to, like, go back into a situation. Meaning, say somebody betrays your trust, right? Rather than being willing to sit with the fact that this happened and sort of reflect on it and accept it, you may go back into the situation with the person and try to rework it because you don't want to admit that you can't trust them. Another way that I'm seeing that this can play out for some of you is that you may feel it's very important for you to advocate for yourself, but because this person is coming through and they are very upset, and there's a codependency there with this person, rather than being able to sit with them feeling very uncomfortable at their suffering, you may immediately jump to being like, no, it's fine, and then, like, going back with this person because of that codependency and feeling so uncomfortable with somebody else's suffering, which is really you also feeling uncomfortable just with suffering in general, feeling uncomfortable with somebody's big emotions. So being like, how can we make this stop? And then sort of like going back into the situation rather than like effectively transmuting the energy. So just something to be aware of. Because when somebody shows up and is like all over the place emotionally, you may like panic and be like, I'll do anything to make this stop. Or you could do that with yourself. So again, just something to be mindful of here. Like you may have some... You may like have a coping strategy that you use that like is not the most effective. Maybe like an unhealthy coping strategy. One that's like about sort of avoidance, which is like also a normal reaction too, because like when there's pain involved, just like what's ingrained in us, like being in a human body is like, that's unpleasant. How do I make it stop? But that's also what's going to happen when you're so identified with your emotions as well, that there's like no separation at all. So it's just something, again, to be mindful of. Some of you also have like a bit of weariness about being happy, which is like more common than one would think. But yeah, you could be like majorly rethinking sort of the choices that you're making, or just feeling like there's not so much clarity as you're moving through this. Things are going to become more and more clear. Just seems like there are a lot of ties karmically that you're clearing out right now. But yeah, you just want to, when it comes to you feeling heightened emotions or interacting with somebody that's experiencing heightened emotions, you want to check in and be like, do I have any maladaptive coping strategies that I use to sort of like avoid this or make it stop so I don't have to deal with it because I'm so uncomfortable with dealing with it. But yeah, I'm interestingly enough, like Eight of Swords and the Ten of Cups and also the Page of Wands, this can be you sort of like knowing that you want to lean into something but having anxiety about doing so. You're just struggling with it. It's almost like you don't trust yourself to know what's going to make you happy and what you want to lean into. And like that lack of self-trust is something that's like messing with your head a bit. But because you're sort of because you're going through this process where you're learning more and more about trusting yourself, it's something that like over time it's going to be gained. You know, like for the most part, you don't just like meet a stranger and immediately trust them, like most of us. Especially like those of you with Aquarius placements, which you're watching an Aquarius video, we can be very like scrutinizing when it comes to other people and be like, show me the facts, like prove it to me, like I don't just want to hear you talking about it. And so right now you're sort of like building back that relationship of trust with yourself because you may have not been trusting yourself and you may have been like overextending yourself with another person and sort of depleting that self-trust. And so this is you like reconnecting that bridge again with you and yourself. And so of course it makes sense that you'd be like, I don't know, do I even know what's really going to make me happy? Like, do I even really trust myself? So of course you're going to be questioning that. You just want to keep like leaning into this and keep exploring, because if you stay where you are, it's just going to be this repeat situation and you're not going to build that trust with yourself. So this is about reconnecting with you and your self-love and your self-worth and not allowing disrespect or not allowing you to put yourself back in situations that kind of confirms like that you're not worth anything, you know, or letting somebody treat you in a way that just reaffirms that for you. So yeah, the way that you're feeling about yourself, that's going to be reflected within your relationships with other people, you know? Somebody that is in a place where they feel self-worth or they're working on that, they're not going to allow somebody to like repeatedly disrespect them. They're going to remove themselves from the situation because they're going to set a boundary, and if somebody crosses it, they remove themselves. So it looks like this is all stuff that you're learning to move through currently. This feels like a very, very big karmic cycle. I am seeing that there's something that you're going to be doing where at first you may be having like a hard time trusting yourself, but then I'm seeing you move forward with it and you're going to be really happy that you did. I'm seeing another person be involved here. It looks like somebody that you're connecting with. This would be somebody that you feel safe around. Things would go kind of slowly with this person. I'm seeing a lot of feminine energy here. So it's a lot about receptivity and response. And I'm also looking at Cancer and Gemini. Okay, so I am seeing you connect with somebody and things start off slow, but then I'm seeing them pick up pace. Yeah. This can be somebody that you're going to, it's somebody that you're connecting with and you're going to be going down a path with this person. There's somebody that you feel like really is compatible with your energy and they really match your energy as well in a desirable way. And there's somebody that's completely on board with where you're going, with where you want to go. It's easy to talk with this person, and you guys are both like equally and mutually interested in one another. And you feel like this person is trustworthy and responsible. Okay. Let me just look and see. Okay, so needing to set boundaries, needing to advocate for yourself, feeling extremely uncomfortable with it, but knowing that if you don't, you're going to be sabotaging your happiness. A cycle closing out, you knowing that you needed to do this for yourself emotionally to be able to be involved with what you really are seeking emotionally, which means that you're going into a cycle of major exploration here, which looks like you're going to be exploring a partnership for many of you. And it looks like you're going to have a conversation or even like a sharing of feelings that's going to confirm that and is really going to help carry things along. And then I'm seeing you have to make a decision that's going to affect your personal life, and it's connected with your feelings about a role that you're going to be stepping into, and also potentially towards somebody that you are going to, somebody that has to do with your life. And you may be figuring out where exactly they're going to be placed within your life, and maybe what you feel like is appropriate as far as a role for them to be playing within your life, and how much to sort of where and when you want to let them in is what I'm seeing. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everybody for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm wishing everybody love and light and healing, and I hope to catch you guys next time.